Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
So here we are just into a brand new year. A lot of us have some diet goals. A lot of us have some fitness goals, even physical and emotional goals. Well, we're going to take care of part of that today. I want to call her your diet guru. She is Dr. Maryam Dadkhah. How are you, Maryam?
Good. How are you, Steve?
Doing fantastic. I will be honest, as I always am. I was running late before I came in here, and not more than, maybe 12 minutes ago, I had a sandwich from a gas station. Don't judge me.
I won't. I promise.
Totally true story. I tried to pick what I thought would be the best thing to eat, and it was a Italian club sandwich. But I want to get into that because a lot of us know that we should be eating better. We assume that, okay, like for me today, I had a sandwich. I had carbs. There was some protein. I guess there's some fat included in that. It was a last minute decision. I assume it's right, but you're the person that somebody can call upon anywhere really in the world for diet advice. What should be your first tips, for somebody, starting a diet or starting a new year? What would you suggest?
Well, I would suggest that look at your lifestyle, look at what works for you. What are your capabilities? What are your limitations? So let's say very much like what you told me, if you're running late, if your best option is a gas station, see what is the best option when you go to a gas station. I give you an example. I do have people like you. So let's say you can go to a gas station and get a couple of slices of pizza, or you can get a fruit on the side or two fruits on the side. Sometimes they might have salad, not the best salad, but they might still have salad, or they might have a smaller sandwich. And then you can mix and match a few of these ones to make it slightly healthier. It might not be 100% perfect, but still is a step forward from having a sandwich and chips and soda, all those combined.
So you mentioned pizza. Let's talk about pizza. By the way, before we even go there, Eatwellguru.com is your website, right?
That's the one, correct.
Lots of great information there. I want to center on pizza for a sec because somebody told me that it's okay to have a slice of pizza. Don't eat the crust because you're just eating, useless carbs. But when you have pizza, you have your protein, you do have enough carbs, you have the fat there. What are your thoughts? And that's not the healthiest thing in the world, but what are your thoughts on pizza?
Well, so you gave me the case of pizza and you gave me the case of sandwich, right? So Let's look at both of them. Let's break them down. They both have a crust. They do come with either bread or a crust. Then in your sandwich, you might have a slice of cheese. On your pizza, you might have cheese. Then you might have some sort of deli meat in your sandwich. Same thing on the pizza. Let's say you might have pepperoni. They're very similar.
Yeah.
I don't want to basically say sandwich is better than pizza. They might be very identical. The portion size matter and what we combine it with. So it's not that because I know what to eat, I would never do pizza. I do pizza, but I try to make it healthier, add healthier toppings to it, throw a salad on the side. So what I'm saying is it's doable with any lifestyle. And then when you look at the basically ingredients, you might end up with the same thing from a sandwich point of view or a pizza point of view.
Okay, fair enough. How about some tips for somebody that is starting a diet? We make these goals and we say, all right, I'm going to lose, 15 pounds, whatever it might be. What's the best way to approach that?
Great question. So one thing that we need to know, especially let's say from a dietitian point of view, when we talk diet, is not always a restriction. Sometimes it's someone's meal pattern. So when we say add these items to your diet, means that have them on your daily routine in your meal patterns. But with the diet, we do have this mindset that people think that they need to lose 10 pounds in 10 weeks, 10 pounds in 10 days. And there are so many like commercial diet companies, things like that are to play for that mindset. Most of the times, those kind of mindset fail. People go through all these restrictive eating habits that they drop few food groups, they might avoid the foods that they had all their life. and they can do it for a certain period of times. Some people do it longer, some people shorter, but usually what we see after these extremes diet, we see people come back to where they first started, and even their weight might go higher than when they first started. So what I would suggest, or what is something that we always suggest people to do, is see what works for you. Sometimes small gradual changes make it like a lifestyle rather than a time period that you go very restrictive and then go back to what you were doing before. Might not be the best solution.
We're getting some instant feedback. You can always reach us at instantfeedbacksteve@gmail.com. And this is from, and I'm reading it off my phone right now because I forgot my glasses, but it says, from Stacy in New Jersey, my father has diabetes and always struggles with what to eat. Can you guide somebody who has diabetes?
I can. So I'm a certified diabetes educator, and I'm also I'm a lifestyle coach that I did the course for CDC to help with diabetes prevention program. So diabetes, someone with diabetes, basically they can eat everything. They just need to go through some education and learn how to choose better. When it comes to carbs, that's a problem that many of people with diabetes have. And then even some healthcare professionals don't give them the right tip. Is when you have diabetes, doesn't mean no carbs. It means that you need to just be very conscious about it and be knowledgeable about it, know what kind of carbs can help you to have a better management of your blood sugar. Also, how much of it, so how much and what kind is the main thing when it comes to a diabetes management. Then depending on where they are with their other health concerns, so they might have high cholesterol, they might have blood pressure. Those are also other areas that we can help and listen and see where they are to basically bring them to a place that we see numbers looks good, they're in a better shape, and so forth.
You know, I wanted to share a personal thought because you mentioned cholesterol. I have low cholesterol, except once it spiked, and I can't remember if it was the LDLs or the triglycerides. Can't remember. I'm not the expert on that at all. But I got that phone call from the doctor, and they said, "Yeah, we need to talk to you." And they wouldn't even tell me over the phone because it was so high. I'm like, "Oh, tell me what do you got to tell me?" And that's what it was. And you know what? You know what made it spike?
No. What was it?
There we go. I was on a crazy schedule at the time, and I was eating protein bars. And I would, at 1 a.m, I would be busy during the day. I'm like, you know what? It's got to be good for me. I'll just grab another one and make that, lunch because I don't have time to eat. And the sugar in those elevated my cholesterol because I thought back, what did I just do differently in the last 3 months? And that's what it was. So a lot of times we're eating things and not even aware. You think it's good for you. A protein bar, okay, sure, it's got protein in it, but it's loaded with sugar, right?
Correct. But let me tell you, it depends on which of those numbers were up. So if your LDL is up, it's not necessarily the sugar, especially when you're talking about the protein bars.
Well, I think it was triglycerides. So that would be.
It was triglyceride. Yes.
Then that would be the sugar, right?
Correct.
Then that's what it was. Yeah.
Right.
What is okay to eat when it comes to those kind of things in terms of protein bars, protein drinks? Are you a fan of those?
So those are the ones that I recommend most people to. We consider them like a discretionary calories for most part.
Okay.
You need to look at the ingredients. You need to look at the nutrition information, and then basically make yourself more knowledgeable about which ones are good, which one are not so good. So I don't recommend shakes and bars and things like that as much as possible. Unless with someone that I see that they struggle with cooking, struggle with eating out, all of those, then we might consider to suggest something like a protein shake. But again, we have to be very conscious about who is eligible to get those recommendations. One problem that I have both, especially with the protein bars, is one is sugar content of them can be high. The other one is in many of those ones, they might use palm oil or coconut oil or palm and coconut products. even though they are plant-based fat, those are the plant-based fat that American Heart Association categorized them in the list for lose it, because they can increase your bad cholesterol levels.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I think we're on the same page here. How did you get started in what you're doing as a dietitian, as what I call the diet guru? How did this all begin for you?
So that's a great question and a great story. So I had a grandmother who was very much into traditional medicine and reading about herbal medicine, and this food can heal and help with this condition and so forth. And you name it, any book, anything like that was out there, she would read it a million times. And then articles, videos, TV shows. She knows all these people by name, everything about these people that have something to do with nutrition. Mm-hmm. So she was my first inspiration as far as the nutrition goes. Then when I was in middle school, I had an English teacher who studied nutrition in the US. And that was the first time that I've heard that there is such a field as nutrition. So it made me more interested that, so that's a career path that I can follow. And I already had that inspiration from my grandma. So that's how I started and get into nutrition, because of all those interests that was basically instilled in me since I was a child and then later in middle school. So that's how I got into the field. And then I started with bachelor. Then I said, no, I need more. Went to master and then PhD.
It's about a relationship with food, right? We all have some kind of connection to food. It is food, and there's a phrase that goes, "Food is love, and food is life." Mm-hmm. What do you suggest for people that wind up in the kitchen, let's say past dinner time, like 3 or 4 times, grabbing a snack and find that they can't stop themselves from doing that?
So, good. So there are a few reasons behind that. One being, I've seen in many people that what they do is they usually skip the breakfast. There are so many people that they're not big with eating a proper breakfast. Then they might think that also they help with the weight because they do some sort of intermittent fasting. Then we get to the lunch. Again, lunch might not be as comprehensive that we would like to see it. It might be a grab and go, a small lunch. Comes the evening, also we might have the hunger hormone going skyrocketed. What we are expecting to happen is basically we have this ravenous person that is tired from the whole day, didn't eat properly or enough throughout the day. So it's almost impossible to control snacking behaviors when the workday is done. Plus that you're not busy. So during the workday, you might be busy and you might not even think about hunger. But then when the workday is done, that's when the control is almost impossible. So I would suggest is maybe we need to reconsider how we eat before the workday ends, and then think about having lighter meals when the night comes.
Maybe it's also thinking about why you're eating. So you may be full. You may be, dinner was fine. I'm good. Now an hour and a half later, now I'm back in the kitchen. Then I'm back again another hour after that. And I'm sure a lot of people just grab a little bit and think, just a little bit. I'm just going to grab. But maybe there's a reason behind it. Maybe they're dealing with stress, emotional issues, that kind of thing. Is that what you do when you work with somebody to identify what their relationship is with food?
I do. And great point that you made. Here's what's happening. So before, I remember when I was going through earlier stages of my education in the 90s, there was a common sense to tell everyone, hey, have smaller, more frequent meals. And everyone would take, it's good to have smaller meals, but then eat frequently. Well, what we were talking about back then is like 3 main meals, maybe 2 snacks. Then they've done studies and they look at the pattern of eating, let's say in American population. Steve, do you want to give me a guess how frequently people would eat in the US?
When you say frequently, how many times they're eating, and it could be anything, a snack, or it could be a full meal. Is that what you mean?
Correct.
All right, let me think here. Let's get the three majors out of the way. 4, 5, 6. I'm gonna go. I'll say 7.
Round the clock.
Round the clock.
So basically, people would eat from the time that they wake up until the time that they go to sleep. And sometimes they won't consider that all these snacks contributes to the weight and eating and all of those things.
Yeah, I'm guilty as charged. I'll go in. I've already eaten, and I'm finding myself doing it recently, and maybe because it's colder out, that might stimulate your appetite, even though you're not really hungry. But,
right.
I'll go in, spoon of peanut butter. Not the worst thing, but now keep in mind, I already had dinner like an hour and a half ago. I know,
exactly.
Right? I don't really need that peanut
right.
butter.
And then another point that you made is about emotions and stress and being tired and things like that. So let's just imagine people's life these days. So we do have COVID. Social relationships has a problem right now with the COVID and being contagious and everything else. And people might not be at the workplace. That's another challenge on its own, with snacks being available in the past. But right now they are at home and they have constant access to snack as much as they want. What they're going to do? So they're going to eat anytime, every time. Sure. It's almost impossible. And then, hey, if they are stressed and if they cannot do anything else, what's going to happen? Eating is the only thing that is left for them to do, right?
Yeah, exactly. And when you're tired, you eat. A lot of people don't realize, the chemical imbalance or the chemical situation in your head when you are tired, it stimulates your appetite.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we're talking with Dr. Maryam Dadkhah, and she helps you out with nutrition therapy, diet services. You can find her at eatwellguru.com. You said it before, and I want to circle back to it.
Mm-hmm.
Fasting. I see a lot of people fasting now. They'll go an entire day without eating, and I don't know, is that good or bad?
So let's look at the root start of the fasting. So there are religious fasting that they were doing for ages. Sure. So that's not something new, but they started to look deeply in, okay, so can we use it as a way to weight loss? We can. It's not that different than any other calorie cutting weight loss, to be honest with you, in the human scenarios. There are lots of studies going on still compared to other diets. It's a new area of the studies and research. But we do have solid evidence that it has some health benefits when it comes to animals. Not so much for human beings yet. And there are different ways of doing that. So some people do it like a time during the day. They limit their eating to 6 to 8 hours. There are other ways that they do alternate days. So they might diet, or they might restrict their eating 5 days a week, or they restrict eating 5 days a week, and then 2 days a week they eat whatever they want, or opposite. So the matter how it works is basically you need to cut calories. It doesn't mean that the timing would help you to basically eat less. I have people that they eat between 12 to 8, but what they do is they condense all the meals that they were eating throughout the day within that 6 to 8 hours, thinking that's the way the timing works with the weight. It doesn't. So it's basically cutting calories is how it helps for people to lose weight.
Getting instant feedback. Pam is in Detroit. And by the way, you can reach us, instantfeedbacksteve@gmail.com. She says, my friend is on the keto diet. Is that a good idea?
Well, so let's talk about keto diet, because some people mix keto diet with Atkins diet. So keto diet is very extreme diet. It has something like 70, 80, 90% fat. And then 5% carbs. So with depending on which version of it you're doing, even sometimes non-starchy vegetable is not allowed in a keto diet. And then maybe 10 to 20% protein. And many times we actually like the protein to be on a lower side, so we have those ketosis to happen. If it's more than that, the ketosis might not even happen with a ketogenic diet. So what people make mistake that is a ketogenic diet is a high protein diet. If it's a high protein diet, it's very much imitating something like an Atkins diet, which is like about 30% protein, like 40% fat, and it has, let's say, up to 100 grams of carbs. So that's one is, let's make sure that when you talk about the keto diet is an actual keto diet, not this version of it that people do these days with high protein. It actually helps with kids that they have uncontrollable seizure and where the medication doesn't work. So we use it at the children's hospital to help with those kids to control their seizures. Wow. And it was very extreme. I remember that in one of my first jobs, we were helping kids with those kind of seizure, and we would give them sticks of butter with pretty much every meal. And even
say stick of butter.
Exactly.
Wow. So what are you getting there? Obviously, you're getting a lot of fat. Maybe there's some protein, no carbs, right? In the butter?
Almost no carb. Almost no carb. Correct. Protein, I doubt it has any protein. It's mostly just fat.
Yeah.
You can make it a little bit healthier. So you, instead of butter and heavy cream and things like that, you can choose more plant-based fat that are healthy, like olive oil and avocado, things like that. But basically with ketogenic diets, that's the risk that we have. So let's get to the question that, is it healthy? So it helps with the weight loss. It's not for everyone. We know that if you do the traditional one with those high fat animals and things like that, there's a risk of cholesterol, everything to go up. And very much like the diet that I told you, it's an extreme diet. We drop so many foods. People can do it for a short period of times if they're looking for something fast and furious. And then after that, you have to decide now what I'm going to do after I lost 10 pounds. Because many times people become so ravenous afterwards that it's very hard to keep them on a calorie monitored diet that they can maintain that weight that they lost. So it's not for everyone. With some people, they have really good success. For some people, again, remember what I told you about intermittent fasting is not about timing. Sometimes you need to basically create that calorie deficit, that calorie reduction to see the weight coming down.
Now, you mentioned Atkins diet. Real quick on that, are you a fan of it? I will tell you personally, I haven't officially done an Atkins diet, but I try to eat like that, where there's a certain amount of protein, more protein than anything else. Then you have your carbs, and then you have your fat. What are your feelings on a diet like the Atkins diet?
So we basically categorize it very much like in the category of keto diet or intermittent fasting. So it's a weight loss diet. It's a commercialized diet. They had a little bit more research in the area of weight loss compared to other ones. We know in short period of time, it works. In long period of time, again, that's the question, how you're going to transition to people to normal eating. If you want to have your pasta back, if you want, because the carbs with the Atkins diet needs to be limited under 100 grams a day. So let's say, hey, if you have a plate of pasta, you're done for the whole day.
Seriously, right? What about protein, just in general? Protein, everybody equates that with healthy eating. How much protein should you have in one serving, or how much protein should you have an entire day?
So not as much as we Americans do. I think that they did an assessment of all Americans. We generally get about like 100 grams of protein a day. What we should do is like 40 grams. That's the requirement.
Per day?
Per day.
Wow.
And then if you're an athlete, that's what people equate to, that if you're an athlete, if you want to build muscle, you have to get way more protein. Hey, guess what that 40 grams of protein would come to? When you're an athlete, that 40 goes up to 60.
Okay. All right.
So,
but the thing is, like, if you have a protein drink or a protein bar, some of them say 30 grams of protein in one serving. And I've heard also that your body can't metabolize more than 20 grams of protein in a couple of hours anyway. So it's almost like a waste of calories.
It is. So here's the thing. So our body needs the protein for hormones and enzymes and for building blocks for our skin and for hair and nails and for muscles. But beyond that, we don't have any way of storing the protein. What is going to happen to that protein is most of it is going to turn into carbs. So that's why I told you the keto diet won't work if it's a high protein, because the protein converts to carb.
I just want to in here. I never knew that. I've learned that's like a mind blow today, that the protein turns into carbs. And here I am all these years thinking protein, that's it. That's the key. That's what you want to eat.
Right.
Wow.
And then the last one is it also can convert to fat. So if you eat more protein, I always ask my patients. So here in the US, people eat 100 grams of protein. Do you see that most of the population in the US are on an overweight side or muscular side? And then usually the answer is on a heavier side, because we basically, if we eat more of anything, finally it's going to turn into fat in our body and being stored.
Sure, absolutely. So we have a couple of minutes left. I want to talk about how you can help somebody if they go to eatwellguru.com.
So I do people across the country and across the globe. I do have people even from Africa that they work with me. Wow. I do have people in Texas and California, and I had people in New York in the past. So many insurances company, given the COVID, even they do cover the sessions, even if it's telehealth. So that's something that you can call your insurance companies and see if they would cover. You can always call me or get to my website or email me, and then I give you a call back and set up an appointment to talk to you, and then we can go from there.
Would you come up with a diet plan for somebody based on what they like? So let's say somebody doesn't like seafood. We did take that out of it, and you would come up with a plan for them?
So I do. What I usually like to do, though, instead of giving them, here, this is your meal plan, the day one, go do it, I basically look at what they're doing. I tweak it little by little. So let's say they might not do it the first time. And most of the time I see those things fail. It's very much like going on Dr. Google and find a diet and then print it and start doing that. I basically give them all the tools and I bring them to what they need to do. So many people might not realize after a while, but they're doing really amazing with their diet and their eating. But I basically ease them into better eating.
So one final question for you.
Sure.
What'd you have for lunch?
I had stir-fried beans.
Okay.
And I had Ezekiel bread with blue cheese.
Gotcha. All right. I'm just kind of curious what a dietitian and somebody who does nutrition therapy eats. Trying to get into your refrigerator there for a second, but it was fascinating talking to you. We learned a lot today, for sure.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
Dr. Maryam Dadkhah, if you want to reach out to her, she's available, can answer questions, see if it's a right fit for you in terms of dietary services and nutrition help. Let's put it this way. We all need help when it comes to nutrition. It's what's fueling your body. I hate to say the cliche, but you are what you eat, and it really is so true. So reach out to Maryam and improve your diet and be well. Thank you very much for being here today.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.